All right, it is 12:02. As people decide to join us, I'll let them into the room, but I want to make sure that I'm being respectful of your time as well. So welcome to Career Foundations, Resumes and Cover Letters. We're going to go over those building foundational blocks of these types of professional documents. My name is Christina Sincere. I'm one of the career advisors here in the AU Career Center. So let's go ahead and get started. We will be covering both resume and cover letter, spending a little bit more time on resume because there's a little bit more in terms of like finer details there. We also have a like handout activity worksheet for your use as you see fit, and I'll be putting that into the chat in a little bit when we hit the first activity portion, and then we'll open it up for questions. We will send this presentation out as a reference post event, hopefully either later today or tomorrow, at the latest the beginning of next week. So let's go ahead and jump into what is kind of this series. We're calling a lot of our um, events this semester, Career Foundations, because we wanted to make sure that these building blocks, students are able to make sure that they're accessing that information, and then we're able to build off of those. So today obviously is resume and cover letters. We also will have personal branding and search strategies for jobs and internships, networking and informational interviewing, so interacting with other professionals, and then interviewing as well as professionalism, workplace etiquette. So we encourage you to look for those other options as well. We're offering them a couple of times this semester. So why do you need a resume and cover letter? Obviously, I think that chances are you're probably well aware. But right, these are um, our basic professional documents. You may need to supply some other information as you're applying for opportunities as well, but these are typically you're always going to need a resume of some kind, and most jobs ask for cover letters, and we want you to be able to write those well, because while some people have differing feelings about the idea of a cover letter, is it worth it? Is it not? If you can write one well, it makes a statement positive for you as a candidate. So we're going to spend again a good chunk of our time on resume, then we'll move to cover letters. My goal is to have time for questions towards the end. I welcome you all to put questions in the chat if you have them, and I can try to hit on those before we get to that sort of ending point. So please let me know if there's anything on your mind based on what we're talking about. So, part one, resumes. There's lots of different ways that we can make resumes. This is just, again, our opening slide. As we sort of jump into the types of resumes very briefly, I know you may not be able to see the finer details of these, but this is more for an example of what kinds of resumes, because a lot of people tend to think, well, yeah, resumes are just resumes. There are different types. They depend on your personal situation. They depend on the industry that you're looking at. But sort of the common things that we see, first, kind of the most typical is the idea of a chronological resume. And when I say chronological, I really mean reverse chronological. We want to see the most recent thing that you've done in each section to the least recent thing that you've done. So this is going to highlight the work experience over time. And in terms of, most students, this is what we would use. This is fairly typical, standard. Another type of resume is the functional resume. Now, this is one that is not as common. Sometimes it can surprise recruiters because they just don't see it very often. But with the functional resume, we actually break it down by the skill that we're trying to showcase, and the bullet points or the descriptions come from all different types of experiences, but we're focusing on if you want to highlight that you have good management skills, You're gonna give me the bullet points or the examples of everything you've done that's management related. And then later on, towards the bottom of the resume, we actually get the work history. So the outline of what were the things that all of the stuff we're describing connects to. Some reasons some people might use a functional resume instead of a chronological one is if they are doing a massive career shift or change. They're going to a different industry or they're trying to do something totally different, and maybe their job titles aren't necessarily like direct or make if someone's reading something really fast, it doesn't resonate with those recruiters. But if they get to see the skills you're capable of and then read the jobs that you've had, sometimes that's helpful for getting across why you're a good candidate. Other people will use functional resumes, so one of the reasons sometimes it might bring up a red flag for some recruiters is functional resumes also are a really good way to sort of take any spotlight off of possible gaps in employment. Because again, if your work history is towards the bottom, all I'm seeing is the great stuff that you've done, and then I see when stuff happened later. So again, there's nothing wrong with the functional resume. I have worked with a lot of people to do those. Typically, they are further in their career, they're alumni, or they're trying to do a really, really big career change. Um, Federal resumes, those are even going through a little bit of a change. The federal government has recently told us that they only want 2 pages max. Previously, a federal resume was any length. It just was like someone's full work history, extremely detailed. But now there are specific guidelines on USA Jobs. That say what they're really looking for, but that is now a max of about 2 pages. And finally, you may have heard of like a CV or a curriculum vitae. Those tend to be a little bit more academic in nature. Your professors, for instance, probably have a CV instead of a resume. Those can be any length. I had a graduate school professor who had a 47-page CV. That is ridiculous to me. It's a lot, but that's because he had every single one of his publications, every single one of his speaking engagements that he'd been requested to present, in addition to all of his teaching and the service that he did in the community. So there was just a lot there. Typically, if I'm working with a student doing a curriculum vitae, um, it will probably be 2 or 3 pages, sometimes a little bit more. Maybe you've done a lot of research, maybe you've been working with a professor in our own publications. But just know that if you are thinking you're going to go into some sort of research or academia type career route, a CV is something that you may want to be thinking about. So, with that broken down, we're going to probably be focusing a little bit more on the chronological, because that's going to be most typical for you all. All right. So, some formatting basics. I'm a big formatting person, and I personally think if we can optimize like our space and what we have to use on the page, we can fit in a lot of information. Because typically your average chronological resume is 1 page. We can get into a little bit later when maybe does that expand to 2. Once we start getting longer than that, it really is more in that curriculum vitae territory. So in terms of um, you know, sizes and fonts and things like that, I do think it's really important for you to kind of get to see and compare in terms of what font are you using. That's honestly sometimes one of the last things people think about because we tend to default to Times New Roman, doing academic papers and things like that. You are not married to Times New Roman. I just want to let you know that. Honestly, when we're looking at fonts, I actually really encourage people to look at more of a sans serif font. So, you know, Aptos, Arial, Calibri, Trebuchet, MS. These are a lot more forgiving. They are a little bit larger-ish if we're comparing, for instance, Times New Roman to Trebuchet. But if I wanted to put Trebuchet in a size 10, I can totally do that, and it's still really easy to read. Whereas Times New Roman size 10, it's getting more and more difficult, and we don't need to make it difficult to read your resume. So, um, typically I would encourage a sans serif font. Also, as we take critical look at the resume to the right, Monica L. James, Monique L. James, we um, have bullet points. So if you currently, for your resume, have more paragraph-like descriptions, we really want to make sure we're breaking it down easily for someone to see individual actions and accomplishments rather than it running all together. So make sure, bullet points are really, really important to be using. It makes it easier. And then for your resume, the page itself, a lot of things, if you're using Word or Google Docs, default to an inch margin all the way around your document. You can go down to a half inch or point 0.5. And that is going to give you a lot of room as well. So those are some things to think about if, as you are kind of glancing at your resume, oh, are these different things that maybe I want to be updating or considering? Those are sometimes some of the easiest changes that make a big difference. Maybe you have a little bit going on to a second page and you want to get onto one page. Usually there's a formatting solution, more so than cutting anything. All right. For any of you who are in their graduate programs, have some professional experience, find it difficult to fit onto that one page, I do want to kind of highlight this asterisk of, you know, you may be able to do 2 pages if you have a lot of relevant experience. But typically, if you are an undergraduate or very early career first year master's student, maybe we keep it to 1. So that's very situational. I have seen seniors that we go with a 2 page resume just because they've done so much. So very, very nuanced there. Um, some more formatting basics just to kind of put this into practice and what pops, as things are being viewed and what makes it easy for things to be viewed. Um, I want your name to be like the biggest thing on the resume. It doesn't have to be huge, huge, but we do want it to be something that stands out. So typically, I would say your name is going to be anywhere from like a 16 to a 26, again, depending on the size of your font, or the type of font. Section titles, that makes it really easy for someone to read and know what they're looking at and like, oh, I want to jump to the experience. Where is it? Um, we can find that easily. And then the content itself would probably be somewhere between a 10 and a 12. So that's just something to keep in mind. This gives that example of we have Susie sample, education is a little bit bigger, but then the content is this one should be the size 10 Arial. So you also want to think about how are you strategically using any sort of bold, italics, underlines, all caps. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of like the all caps titles. They can be nice and it does definitely catch the attention. I'm just like a oh, it's all caps. It feels like it's shouting at me kind of person, but other people really like it. So that's a design choice. So keep that in mind. You have the design choices of what are you putting as bold, italics, that sort of stuff, but just be consistent as you do it and make sure there's a purpose of like, oh, this makes it easier to read because all of my job titles are bold and italicized. All my organization titles are bold. It just gives the reader cues of what they're looking at. Um, we'll often get questions of what do I need to even put in this? What should be going in the resume? Ultimately, we want whatever is most relevant or what are the experiences or abilities that show that you are a good fit for the stuff you're applying to. So there may be some things that you've done in your recent years that just aren't as relevant, and they won't be included, and that's okay. And there may be other things where you're like, okay, I do want to share that I've done some customer service work so I can highlight my ability to collaborate or communicate, and I'm going to use it solely for that reason. But at its base level, required stuff. We need your name and contact information, who's applying, how do we get in contact with them, your education. So at base level, we mainly just need American University for undergrads. You don't have to put your high school. I think we'll get into that a little bit later of like when that kind of goes away. If you are a master's student, you'll have American University first, because that's what you're currently working on, and then you'll have your bachelor's institution. So education should show that history of like university stuff. Um, it can also showcase any academic awards or honors if you study abroad. Again, there's a variety of things that could fall under here. And then experience, and that can mean a lot of different things. That's not just what you got paid for. It could be things related to your clubs and organizations that you're a part of, or things that you volunteer for. In some cases, it may even be, projects from class that are very practical in nature. Um, but as we go over to optional, as I mentioned, projects, that is one thing. If you wanted to have it as a separate section, you could do that as well. But for a lot of first and second year students, if there are any first and second year students on here, um, right, you probably have a lot of leadership experiences from high school that are still relevant, that would be in the last 3 or 4 years. Maybe you want to have a leadership experience section in order to highlight that sort of thing, your initiative, your ability to take charge, organize things. I do highly recommend a skills section. You don't necessarily need one if those skills are integrated into your bullet point descriptions. But if for some reason it's not integrated into your experience descriptions, it's very helpful for us to know, like, you know how to do this. Like, we are confirming it. If even if a job is like, I need you to be able to do Microsoft PowerPoint, like, you're a college student, like, we're pretty sure you know how to use, I'm pretty sure you know how to use PowerPoint, but if it's not on your resume, we don't know. And if that's something they're calling out in the job description, they want to see. So that's just something to consider and why a skills section can be helpful. You also can break out different types of skills, which I believe we have some examples of that as we move forward. If you do research on campus, research experience would be amazing to see. And as I mentioned, the projects could get their own section, as well as honors and awards, although that could be fit into the education. Um, so, yeah, so those are kind of your required and things that are optional or possibilities. And then we have to think about, okay, what do I actually want to say about, this stuff? Or what am I putting on here? So first of all, we need some context. Um, so we need to know if there is an experience that you have, what was your role? What was the organization that you were doing it with? Where were you? And how long did you do it? So those four pieces of information I usually like to refer to as our context information for the experiences. So that then, well, how do I arrange that? What could that look like? These are just simply four possible examples, but also gives you the chance to sort of see, well, it could be one line, it could be two lines. I will say that if space is a concern, getting your context stuff on one line is really, really helpful and is going to ensure that you have enough space for other things on the resume. If maybe this is one of your first resumes or like you're a first or second year student and you still are kind of figuring out what this looks like for you, you have a little bit of space to play with. Maybe you want to do something like the bottom two, where you have that context information broken up a little bit. But each of these sort of gives you some options. Maybe you want some stuff that's more on the right side to balance out the page. Maybe you want everything running, from left to right, and you're not worried about the right side at all. Personally, the first two are the ones that I tend to lean towards. But this is a style choice for sure. What I would say is, one of the things that I will often see with a lot of samples or like things that are like templates from Word or Google Docs that people will bring to get reviewed. There are some that put all of the dates for stuff first. I would not do that ever. Because as a student, chances are a lot of your experience are more short term, like you do stuff during the summer, or it's a semester long job or internship or something like that. I don't want an employer focusing on the dates. For that kind of thing, I want them focusing on what you've done first, and the dates be like it is a piece we need to know, but that's a little bit more of an afterthought. Um, let's focus on what you were involved with more so. So if you're leading with your dates, I would maybe consider not. And if you don't have your months with your dates, I would really encourage you to add those to the best of your ability, whatever you think is most accurate. I know sometimes it's hard to remember. Did I start this in September? Did I start this in October? I would go with your most conservative guesstimate, if there is some uncertainty, because it is really helpful to know month year to month year, because 2024 to 2025 could be 2 months or it could be like 23. So that is a big difference in terms of how long someone was doing something. All right. So we've got our context information of, okay, what was the thing that I did, but now I need to actually describe it. We want to start every bullet point with an action verb. We want to pack a punch with what we're saying. We want to make sure that we're getting across that we're a doer, on our resume. So we do have this, in our resources area of Handshake. But it breaks it down into different like skill categories and different verbs that maybe you want to think about utilizing as you are trying to get certain ideas across. If I need to show that I have really good administrative skills, oh, well, let me look at the administration list. Oh, I've organized things. Oh, I did have to process a type of paperwork at my summer job. Or maybe I had to respond to inquiries of some kind. So this, I think, can be helpful to sort of spark ideas and different ways to present information. But we always want to start with a really strong verb. Some other ways to reflect on what do I even want to share about these experiences? Like, I don't even know what to say about my summer job at the ice cream parlor. Um, I would encourage, or we encourage you to think about, okay, well, what are the things that are important for the jobs I'm applying to? Or if you're really uncertain, we love using these career readiness competencies. They're from the National Association of Colleges and Employers. That's like our professional association as career advisors. But these are like we got data from employers. These are the types of things that they're looking for in recent graduates, early career people, interns, like these are the things they want to see. So if I worked at an ice cream parlor and I know that, okay, I want to apply to something that really needs a lot of critical thinking skills. All right, how did I have to think on my feet at the ice cream parlor, or did I solve any problems? Maybe there were scheduling issues and like I rearranged the schedule for people, or maybe the ice cream machine broke down, and I had to figure something out. Okay, I want to make a bullet point about me solving that issue. Now I need to think about, okay, what is the word I want to start with? Is it that I problem solved or troubleshot? And then building off of that more and more. But being able to reflect on these different things can be really helpful if you're trying to generate ideas of what to say about an experience. So we always want to start with a verb. We do want to be specific about what we were doing. So we want to try to avoid being really vague, like worked the cash register. Okay, like yes, maybe someone did do that, but can we talk a little bit more? Is there, do we want to mention the accuracy or the good customer service that was provided or there could be a variety of different things. So what are we trying to really hit on? Quantifying when possible. Anytime that we can do a number, a percentage, an amount of something can be really helpful. So if maybe in an organization that you're a part of, you helped raise a large amount of money for a nonprofit, is it that you collaborated with a team to raise a certain amount of money, or is it that you raised a certain amount of money with a team executing a certain type of event? So that's just something to think about. If there were any like technical type skills used in our personal skills, this can be a great way of incorporating some of those like technical platforms, software. Is it that you utilized PowerPoint to develop, promotional slide decks for something? Um, so a lot of people, so this next one, focusing on results and impact, we often will say like, okay, baseline what I did. Again, work the cash register. Again, that's what maybe some people do. Again, if we go back to my ice cream shop example, but what was the impact that maybe I would have had as in my summer job? Is it that I created a welcoming atmosphere? Is it that I increased sales by doing a promotional social media campaign promoting the ice cream shop? I want to know what the impact or difference that you've made is. And then we do want to make sure if your bullet points are going like really, really long, one or two lines, well, one line is kind of like ideal. Two lines is fine because sometimes we need to go into more information. If your bullet point is starting to go on to three lines, that's where we want to kind of stop and think, all right, how do I break this apart? Am I adding too many actions together? Is there a way to maybe synthesize or simplify this to make it easier for someone because that's getting a little long for someone to skim quickly. So, some examples, maybe not the strongest thing, helped with social media. Helped, assisted, aided, they are verbs. That's absolutely correct. They're just not super strong. So thinking about, okay, what does it mean to help with social media? What did I actually do? Well, I created posts. Okay, well, how many was I creating on a regular basis? Did that have an impact on anything? Oh, well, a stronger way of stating that would be created 10 plus weekly posts on Instagram and LinkedIn. So we're also name dropping types of platforms or software that we're using, increasing student engagement by 25%. So this person is monitoring their analytics to actually be able to see that they have made that impact. So that would be a lot stronger for us to share. And then worked, it's just super general. If you are using the verb worked on your resume, I would encourage you to ask yourself, okay, well, what does work actually really mean? In this case, worked at the front desk. Okay, that could mean a lot of different things, but all right, you might be managing a process. You could be interacting with a certain number of people. What does it mean to be doing your job? So in this case, a stronger way of saying it might be manage front desk operations by greeting 50 plus students daily, answering questions, and directing them to resources. So we want to encourage you to dig a little bit deeper. I often in my career advising appointments am asking students, let's dig a little bit deeper on that. In terms of resume do's and don'ts, very commonly, you are probably applying to a lot of similar types of positions. But if you are applying to a lot of different, like if you could categorize the positions very differently, you may need different versions, because we do want you to tailor your resume to the types of positions that you are applying for. Proofreading your resume is really important. I'm a big proponent of reading stuff out loud to yourself. Sometimes it's easier to catch issues when you hear them versus just seeing them quickly. And a lot of people will use errors, typos as if I have 10 great candidates, all right, who has the typos or errors? Okay, we're not gonna meet with those people. Like that does happen. Um, we want to see the accomplishments, just not just what your responsibilities were. Um, and in terms of this is more if you're like once you've applied or you're interacting with an employer, if it's been a week or two and like we would encourage you to reach out to see if there's anything else that they need, or where they're at in their process, if they need anything else from you. And the big thing is, unless otherwise noted, always save your resume as a PDF before you send it to keep that format preserved. Like I mentioned before, high school, if you are beyond your sophomore year, or even maybe if you are a sophomore, like high school, go ahead and remove that. We want to focus on college, university level stuff. Um, Keeping information pretty concise is important. Um, this one where it says, do not extend bullet points for a single professional experience entry across 2 pages. So, like, if you are having a 2 page resume and one of your jobs ends up the first half of it's at the bottom of page one and the second half of it is on the top of page two, we want to figure something out to reorganize, recategorize, adjust because we do not want something cut off in the middle like that. There are some ways to play with that if there's no other recourse, but usually a little reorganization can fix that. And then for folks, I don't know if any of you are international students, but I know a lot of foreign countries, like certain countries in Europe. I had a roommate in graduate school who was from Japan. It was very common to put certain like identifiable very personal information on the resume. We aren't going to do that on a US based resume. Like anything that potentially is a protected class. So like our age, religion, whether we're married or not, like that is not, they do not need to know that information. Um, we also would be very, very cautious of like photos. Typically, we're not going to put a picture on your resume. So just something to keep in mind. There's definitely certain things we don't need or want to disclose on the resume, here in the US. Um, and then big, gigantic white chunks of like empty space, we want to avoid that, and that can come from formatting. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and pop into the chat our handout for this event. Um, it's currently in use, so I have to this is what you will see when you get it. We don't necessarily have to, and in the interest of time, we will probably just move on. But this is helpful for you as kind of a checklist for yourself, generating ideas, things that you would want to be putting onto your resume, and then we have another section for cover letter. So let me go ahead and get this into the chat for you all. All right, so that's a Word document. You should be able to download it and use that as you see fit. But we would really encourage, if you need time for that. Um, Farah, oh, um, Good question, so Farah. Thank you for asking. Again, if people have questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. You talked about GPA or asked about GPA. I think it's an optional piece of information. You do not have to put it. I know that I think if this lets me do previous, yeah. In this sample, I have the GPA living under the anticipated graduation date. I like doing that because one, it takes away length. Like if we just had one little line with GPA, like that's more length on the page, but also it's a very unique piece of information. You do not have to put it though. What we would encourage is if you have above a 3.5, why not? Great GPA, definitely. If it's above a 3.0, that's still really good. It's a good GPA. We would say that's optional to you if you want to, and definitely if you have below a 3.0, we wouldn't put it at all. But this is more so if you really have something stellar that you want to showcase. Um, or if, and this is kind of rare, but sometimes does happen, if in the job like posting, they say we want certain things in certain documents, obviously put that in there for them if they ask for it. But typically employers, if they really want your GPA, they will ask for your unofficial transcript. So, that again is optional. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into cover letters. Follow up. So if they have a GPA minimum in the requirements, we need to put it. Um, if if they phrase it as please attach your resume and cover letter, in the resume include your GPA, yes. Again, that's very rare. If it just says like we want students above a 3.3, for instance, and they don't ask for an unofficial transcript. So here's the thing. If they're like, submit your resume, your cover letter, your unofficial transcript, you don't need to put it on the resume. They can see it from the unofficial transcript. That's honestly the better way for them to get it. If they say they have a GPA requirement, you meet or exceed that, and they're not asking for your unofficial transcript for whatever reason, that seems very weird to me that they wouldn't. But if that's the case, I would put it on your resume then. Good question. All right. So, cover letters. So you've worked on your resume, you've got that together, and now you have to write a cover letter for a job that you are applying to. So, this is, I like to have students think of it as a compliment to your resume. This should not be your resume in sentences. We already have your resume. It's supposed to be easy and quick to read. We don't need it repeated in paragraph form. But this is your ability to take or kind of select very specific items from your resume that you want to dig deep, even deeper on, that you really want to drill down into. Um, so this should connect certain experiences and skills to what they want. Um, I know most, if not all of you, have had to, for whether it's English classes in college, or even high school looking back, you have had to write persuasive papers. Like, here's my stance, and I'm gonna persuade you that this is the right thing. You are what we're persuading people about. So think of yourself as the subject of a persuasive writing um, assignment, basically, for the purposes of this company or organization seeing that you're the ideal candidate. We should be able to feel like, oh, this person wrote it just for us. Like you want the organization to be like, oh, this cover letter was written just for us, even if maybe most likely you're going to be adapting and maybe reusing some information, but cover letters are very, very, very tailored items. Um, and if they're done well, they really help you stand out. So, with that, over to the right, this cover letter format, that is one option. Basically, it's your street address, the date, the information of the organization, and then you go into the letter. This breaks down like different items. We have another slide that sort of breaks down like what goes into a letter. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to that one since the text is larger there. But before we get into the breakdown of like content of ideally what we want in the letter, another option for formatting. So in the the previous one, the top of our letter, this is correct. This is a way to lay out these letters. You're gonna see a bunch of different stuff online with what they're doing at the top of these letters. My way that I like to encourage students to kind of set this up is using the same header as your resume. Think of it as your professional document header. So if you need to give people stuff, like I also have a page like this with my references. So I have a document where it's my professional document header, the word references, and the list of people that could be a reference for me. Um, so thinking of this as your professional document header, it also is going to save you a little bit of space in some cases. And then, um, because honestly, this piece, if we know where you're at, we actually don't need these two lines here. It would literally be the document header, the date, who we're writing to, and then dear that person's name. Or if we don't know, dear hiring manager. So, from here, let's see if there's anything that I missed going through here. Oh, yes, cover letters, one page. That is a very, very like has to be one page. Or that's not a maybe you could do two. Like no, cover letters, one page. On average, like usually they're gonna have the 1 inch margin. If your resume is doing something smaller like that half inch, I would say that you could probably do the half inch for your cover letter as well. You do want to have some breaks in between your paragraphs. This shouldn't be like a double-spaced paper. Your actual paragraphs would be single-spaced, but make sure that you're putting a space in between each paragraph. And your font size will probably be somewhere between 10 and 12 again. So, what we want to have in the letter or things that we want to hit on, um, basically breaking this down sort of paragraph by paragraph. I will also get the question of how many paragraphs am I supposed to have? Um, Cover letters typically are going to be somewhere between like 3 to 5. I think four is like the sweet spot for doing a cover letter. We can go into detail, but we're not going on and on and on. So four, I think, is a pretty good sweet spot. So looking at what we have in here, first paragraph. We are opening up with, it says grab the reader's attention with a strong opening. Um, I'm thinking more direct opening. I'm writing to express interest in, or in some cases, we would try to avoid the word excited, because it's not exactly professional. It really depends on what you're applying to. I have seen people open with, I'm thrilled to apply for this position, like whatever the position is. But if you're kind of trying to go with a more conservative or even keel approach, I'm writing to express interest in, like really immediately getting into it. So we want to know the job title, the organization. Um, I really also encourage you to maybe make some sort of connection of why that organization. That is going to be very unique to each letter. Because what is it about their mission or what they do or the service they provide or the product that they provide or what they've done for the community that draws you to them? You're going to introduce yourself, and it's not really like, my name's Christina. It's going to be, I'm a first year student at American University studying X, Y, and Z. We know your name if it's at the top. So the introducing yourself like my name is, we don't need to do that. Um, let's see. Anything else relevant beyond like class year, major? Maybe you've taken a particular class that really connects and you want to call that out early. Or you've done a very similar type of job. If you have more experience, maybe it is, I'm currently a master's student at American University studying public policy and have 5 years of such and such type of experience. So giving that context early can be nice. Um, but we then would want maybe if, so these are some if things in the first paragraph. Someone referred you or suggested you apply. Name dropping can be a good thing. If that's not the case, don't worry about it. Um, how you learned about the position, that would be more if like you went to the job and internship fair, or you went to some sort of career networking event and you met the organization or you learned about it in a networking context. If it's just that you found the job on Handshake, we don't need to worry about that. That's just going to take up space. Um, and then I always encourage students to sort of end this paragraph. Granted, some people like to start this paragraph, so you get to decide with your writing style what feels better to you. But highlighting 2 to 3 things, whether they're skills, experiences, accomplishments, a combination of them. It could be, if I was applying to, another career advising position. Again, I love my job. I'm gonna be here, but let's say I was applying to, well, when I applied to this job, I said my previous experience being a internship coordinator and my ability to organize educational programs makes me a good candidate for the career advisor position at American University. So give us two or three things because that sets the tone then for what our second and third paragraphs really include. So if I say it was my past experience at a previous institution being an internship coordinator, then I need to give a very specific example of like my best internship coordinator um, experience that connects to the career advisor position. So like when I applied for this job, yes, I did say, what was my approach to career advising? How do I work with students or build rapport with a team? Those are things that we don't get out of a resume. Because I can say, oh, I advise students. You get that from the resume. But how do I tell a real story behind that? We want a specific example, or something with depth about that ability. So you're gonna do that basically twice. So if I say it's an experience and an ability, the first body paragraph is gonna be about that experience. The second body paragraph will be about that ability. I give a story. The thing that most people do is stop there. What I really encourage you to do is think about, okay, here's my best example. Maybe you need to apply to a job that has that you need to showcase that you have really good communication skills, like written communication skills. So maybe you say like, oh, my written communication skills make me an ideal candidate. What's the best example of that? And how can you apply it to the thing you're actually applying for? So that's the piece that most people don't do is connect the dots of how you would apply it or how you would use it to benefit the employer that you're trying to catch that attention of. So doing that, I think, can be really helpful. And then your fourth paragraph overall is probably going to be pretty short, sweet, and to the point. Maybe you share one last thing about yourself that makes you a good fit, or you do another, like a little summary of what you've shared so far. Or if it's an internship, how does this internship potentially play into your professional growth and career goals? If they ask for any logistical information, this is very common with internships during the academic semester. Let us know your availability. That's something that you would put in your last paragraph. I'm available Tuesday and Thursday afternoons between 12 and 5. Whatever that is, you let them know. The contact information, if for some reason that's not already at the top, you can put that in there. But if we have that at the top, I wouldn't worry about that. And then just making sure you say thank you. Thank you for your consideration, and I hope to speak with you further, or I look forward to speaking with you further about this role. And then you end your letter. So we've kind of hit on all of these things, so I'm not gonna go too much into detail about this. But make sure that you do your research. Make sure you make them feel like, oh, this was written for our organization. They know what they're talking about. They've, connected it for us of why they want to work here, how their skills fit with our needs for this position. And that goes into the convincing, like, yes, we want to know what you've done, but how can you use that for them? We want that convincing piece. And definitely, again, for proofreading, you're gonna be writing a letter. It's prose. It can be hard sometimes to catch things. Make sure again you're reading that out loud to yourself so you can kind of catch anything that, maybe there's syntax that's off, or maybe just something's a little clunky in the wording or phrasing. When we just read it really fast, we can skip over it, but when we hear it, it kind of makes us stop and be like, ooh, I need to rephrase that. Um, all right, so there is the other portion of the activity that's cover letter based for you with that worksheet. Um, You will get this presentation in follow-up. So we do have different things on the Career Center webpage, some examples of resumes and CVs, a cover letter breakdown on the website. Handshake also has some things as well, for samples and other items. Some upcoming events that we have are other career foundations, as I mentioned. We have, I think, almost, yeah, all of the sessions will be done again towards the latter half of the semester. So if you missed something or you want to go to one that you weren't aware of, there's going to be another chance. Um, if you're looking to network, I highly encourage you to attend Nonprofits Making a Difference on the 14th. Or we also have the National Security and Intelligence Community on November 18th. But there's a really awesome list. It's a pretty extensive list in Handshake about the different alumni and like organizations that will be represented at the nonprofits next week. And there's a really cool list of people coming, and they want to talk with you, and they want to, share what they do, and they may even be able to let you know or give you a heads up on certain things that are going to be coming up in their organization. So I would really encourage that. Um, and if you are looking for some more assistance, but maybe you don't feel like you need a one-on-one appointment just yet, we do have some group advising options. Those are in Handshake as well that you can RSVP for. Um, so we have some contact information here. Drop in advising if you do want like a 15-minute quick session with an advisor, Monday through Thursday, 2 to 4 in the Career Center we have available. Um, and then I will open it up to questions in just a second. More questions. I see some stuff popping up now.